I decide who lives and who dies. Mere humans are just playthings to me.
Hello everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here, and welcome to Movie 5 review of the Dragon Ball Z movie reviews. And we have finally hit one of my favorite movies. If I were to make a top 5, this would definitely be in number 3 spot. The movie Dragon Ball Z Cooler's Revenge. I love this movie. I really like the Cooler makes the movie. That's why I love the movie. Like, he himself just makes the movie. He himself is really impressive. He's just really strong, but not just really strong. He's also got this like great persona. But enough of me babbling. I'll say my thoughts after the summary. So let's get to it. The movie begins actually at the beginning of the Dragon Ball series, just in general, the whole Dragon Ball series. That includes Dragon Ball, in which Bardock is taking the Death Ball or Supernova attack from Frieza head on along with Frieza's other henchmen while planet Vegeta is getting destroyed. And while this is happening, Goku's ship flies off to planet Earth, you know, Goku's designated planet, but this one Goku's still a baby. Frieza's destroying planet Vegeta and getting rid of all of the Saiyans basically, and Cooler is watching from a distance. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, Cooler is Frieza's older brother. And Cooler is watching as Frieza's just enjoying himself, destroying an entire race of monkeys. Yeah, because that's what Cooler calls them too, monkeys. And he basically thinks that Frieza's way too arrogant for his own good. And he is. So Cooler shows to be the more calm control of the two brothers. And they notice that a Saiyan space pod has actually gotten away from the explosion. So Cooler actually sees Goku heading towards Earth. And he potentially has the ability to destroy him if he wanted to. Like, he could literally just destroy him right now. But Cooler declines that order. And he's like, the henchmen are like, why not? Because Frieza's in charge of this quadrant. Because apparently the Frieza's family, the Cold family, are all in charge of different, like, sections of the universe or galaxy. Like, for example, Frieza may own one half of this galaxy while Cooler owns another. So that's how they work. So basically, Cooler's like, let Frieza clean up his own mess, and if he ends up paying for it, that's his problem. Sure enough, years later, Cooler is informed by one of the henchmen that he has that Frieza has been killed by a Saiyan from Earth. That's Goku. And so basically Cooler called it. Like, he called it on the dime. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, actually, Cooler goes off to try and get revenge. Now, does this mean that Cooler really cares about his brother? No. He even stated, like, he hates his brother. And while Frieza was destroying planet Vegeta, he hates Frieza's arrogance. However, Cooler will not accept his brother being killed by a Saiyan. So I guess he holds the family honor still into place. So they set a course towards Earth. Then we cut to Gohan, Krillin, and Oolong, as they're and Icarus too. They're there, and they're off camping. And while they're off camping, they're just chilling, chowing down on some food and stuff, and Goku is fishing for, you know, a giant fish so that they can cook that too. But while they're doing this, Goku senses some energy and heads back to the campsite. Krillin and Gohan end up getting captured by Cooler's henchmen. Goku ends up making it there, and when Goku ends up making it there, he's trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Because Gohan's tail's grown back too, I think. Either that or it was still there from, no, it wasn't there in the Lord Slug movie. At least I don't think it was. I have to check back. But regardless, Gohan has his tail. And, but it doesn't affect the movie anyway, because there's no full moon in this movie. Regardless, Goku tries to fight off the henchman. However, he ends up getting stopped because he senses some energy that's very similar to Frieza's. Goku turns back and thinks, oh no, Frieza's back. He even says it in his mind, and Goku's like, leave this planet right now, Frieza. And, oh no, he doesn't call him out on being Frieza just yet, but he does know, in his mind, he says he's Frieza. So then, Goku ends up fighting the henchmen off, and Gohan manages to escape. And while he's trying to escape, Goku tries to get Gohan and Krillin and the others to safety. And they're flying off, and Cooler ends up hitting Goku in the back with an eye laser attack, and it knocks Goku down. They call it the Death Beam, but I think that's just the English dub that they called it the Death Beam, because the Death Beam is a family attack, much like the Death Ball and Supernova attacks. However, when Goku ends up getting hit by the Death Beam, he ends up falling off into the distance somewhere near some rocks in a cave. And Krillin and Oolong try to go find him. The henchmen are confirmed that Goku is dead, because no one survives a Death Beam from Cooler and lives to talk about it. However, Cooler knows better. Cooler can't sense energy like Frieza, but for some reason Cooler does know that Goku is still alive, and he wants his henchmen to find Goku, or else there will be a dead body in Cooler's hands. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Goku, so he threatens his henchmen. And basically while that's happening, the henchmen are just scattering energy blast all around trying to find where Goku is. Yet, they're dumb enough to do this because Cooler wants to see the dead body. So, yeah. Meanwhile, Krillin and Oolong, as well as Icarus, because Icarus is able to sense out Gohan's scent, find Goku and Gohan inside of a giant cave, which has been bombarded with rocks thanks to that barrage of energy blast from the henchmen. So Krillin ends up moving the rocks, and when he ends up moving the rocks, they find Goku and the others, and Goku's hurt pretty bad. So the only way to get him back to snuff is to give him a Senzu bean from Korn's tower. So Gohan and Icarus make it an effort to go in and get the Senzu beans rather than Goku flying, because he'd use up some energy, and they can sense Gohan's energy via the scouter. So they decide to use Icarus, whose energy is so low it won't pick up on the scouter. Either that or it will, but it will just pick up as, a small little animal, so they won't concern themselves with it. So what ends up happening is that Gohan manages to fly Icarus all the way to Korn's tower, and Gohan ends up climbing up the tower and talks with Yajirobe and Master Korn. Now, at first, Master Korn is rather reluctant to give Gohan the Senzu beans because Gohan just up and asked for them without, bringing a gift or, showing any manners. But Yajirobe's like, F it, give the kid a Senzu bean. And Korn's like, hey, I'm the one who's in charge of who has the beans. And Yajirobe's like, screw it, I'm the bean daddy. It's a very hilarious argument between the two. But regardless, Yajirobe gives Gohan the bag of Senzu beans. And then Korn's about to eat one of the Senzu beans. And Yajirobe gives Gohan that Senzu bean as well. Gohan takes the rest of the Senzu beans and flies down, and then takes the one of the Senzu bean that Yajirobe gave him and puts it in his gi inside of his little outfit. He flies back on Icarus, and it's a long trip from there to Korn's tower. So Icarus is pooped. He's basically really, really tired, and they're not flying that fast, and they're not gonna make it to Goku in time. So what they end up deciding to do, Gohan digs into the bag and gives Icarus a Senzu bean so that Icarus can fly really fast. Unfortunately, this means that Icarus's power is much higher than a normal tiny animal-like dragon should be, so it picks up on the scouter. So when it picks up on the scouter, Salza, I forgot the other two's names, but the two Cooler's armored squad, that's their official name, which was to basically be a callback to like the Ginyu Force. That's why Salza's French, rather than like when Jace was Australian. So Salza and the others pick up on Gohan's energy and end up catching him in mid-flight. And he ends up getting attacked by Cooler's armored squad. And Then, when it seems all is lost for Gohan, Piccolo comes in and fights off against Cooler's armored squad. And he ends up fighting all three of them. And yet again, they do repeat the pattern, the villain pattern. The one that's feminine, the one that's really strong, and then the one with the weird power, like trio. That's why there's only 3 of Cooler's armor squad instead of like 5 like the Ginyu Force. Regardless, Piccolo ends up fighting them. And while he's fighting them, Gohan finally manages to fly back to Goku to give him the Senzu beans. And while this is happening, Piccolo ends up... I know their names now. Piccolo ends up killing Nizu and Dure. Yeah, that's their names. He ends up killing Nizu and Dure, and then he ends up fighting against Salza. And while he's fighting against Salza, Salza is more or less losing. Like, Piccolo's kicking Salza's ass. And then, out of nowhere, he ends up getting blasted. Piccolo ends up getting blasted by Cooler because Cooler shows up in the fight. And then Salza uses this as the chance to get Goku, Gohan, Krillin, and the others while they're headed back. Gohan finally gets the bag and tries to pass it to Krillin, but before he can pass the bag of Senzu beans, Salza ends up shooting the Senzu beans down, thus destroying all the Senzu beans that they had, thus ruining the chance for Goku to be healed. So Krillin ends up attacking Salza in just pure rage, but he ends up getting his butt kicked. And then, Gohan realizes something. He had one more Senzu bean, the one that Yajirobe gave him, and he had it in his in the belt of his gi. So he busts out that Senzu bean and gives it to Goku. Then Gohan, while Goku's recovering, Gohan gets mad and attacks Salza, but he ends up getting beat effortlessly as well. So, and this was funny. Salza notices that a huge power is going on in the cave now because Goku's recovered, but he doesn't know it's Goku. And Salza's like, the only ones in there are that Saiyan and the pig. He's like, what is this power? It couldn't be the pig. So he actually thinks that it's Oolong, and that's pretty comical. And then when Goku comes out, he is basically going to attack Salza. And then Goku ends up seeing Cooler. And when he sees Cooler, Salza ends up coming in and he introduces Cooler. And Goku's looking at Cooler holding Piccolo. And Goku's like, what have you done to him, Frieza? And Salza starts laughing because now he's thought that Goku thought that Cooler was Frieza, and Salza informs Goku that Cooler is Frieza's brother. So, and this is one of my favorite Cooler scenes. Cooler throws Piccolo towards Goku so that Goku can catch him. But before Goku can catch him, Cooler just ends up shooting death beams all at Piccolo's body, and it's just very fucked up. It really shows how evil this son of a bitch is. And while Goku's all shocked by what he just saw, Salza takes the advantage and punches Goku. But unfortunately, unfortunately for Salza, Goku's so pissed off at Cooler that he doesn't even feel that punch. And he just gets so mad and blasts Goku and blasts Salza out of the way by powering up. So that knocks freaking Salza away. Then Goku ends up going in to fight Cooler. So it's Goku versus Cooler now, and more or less they're both even in strength. Because Cooler right now is at his final form. The form that Frieza took while Goku fought Frieza on planet Namek. So while they're fighting, it basically Cooler's like, I can see how you were a match for my brother. However, I found out a way to transform one more time than Frieza. So Goku's like, what? Now, let me do some clarification. This is the timeline in which I probably should have said this at the beginning. This is the timeline in which Goku beats Frieza via the Spirit Bomb. So Goku doesn't know how to turn Super Saiyan yet. So, the final form of Frieza is all Goku knows about. He doesn't know about the 100% perfect form that Frieza obtained, and that's not really a transformation. It's more or less a buff up that Frieza was able to do. The difference between this and the transformation that Cooler is obtaining is the fact that Cooler's transformation more or less can contain Cooler's energy. Like, Cooler can still be this strong no matter how long the fight goes out. However, Frieza, when he was at 100%, Frieza was at 100% form, that form is a form that whittles down within time, because it's not a full transformation. It's just Frieza getting buffer. So Frieza loses his energy while time goes around, while Cooler can maintain it. But technically, well, I'll reveal the rest later. So anyway, Cooler ends up transforming and Goku ends up fighting him, and Goku's getting his ass kicked. I mean, kicked for real. And not even the Kaioken times 20 is enough to budge this guy. And he even does the Kaioken times 20 Kamehameha, but even that's no good. And he's just getting stomped, literally. And all hope seems lost and everything seems like it's failing, and even a bird randomly gets killed in the crossfire of their fight. Now, Goku gets so, embraced with anger, and he needs to sum up his emotions and power for a victory, but he's so angry at Cooler at the same time that he finally ends up transforming Super Saiyan. Now, this is Goku's official first transformation of Super Saiyan within this canon, within this timeline. In the timeline in which Goku beats Frieza via the Spirit Bomb, he never turned Super Saiyan, and he came close in the Lord Slug movie. This is finally his transformation. This is how Goku obtained Super Saiyan in this timeline. Cooler was the trigger for him to turn Super Saiyan in this timeline. So with that said, Goku finally transforms Super Saiyan, and Cooler's like, what? Saiyans transform into great apes, not this. This is different. Whatever, I'm still going to kill him. But before he even does that, Goku teleports so fast that he makes it up to where Cooler is. And then Cooler tries to beat him up, but it's of no avail. Goku's too powerful now. Also, a really good song happens here. It's by, I can't remember the band. I think they were like Deftones. And the song's called Change. Good song. Anyway, while Cooler's trying to fight Goku, Goku's winning. And while he's winning, he knocks in Cooler for a loop. But then Goku takes his eyes off Cooler for like a second, due to the crossfire of everything that went on. Yeah, because Cooler tried to launch an energy blast at Goku, and Goku was able to deflect it, but he didn't know that Cooler could gather up energy much faster than Frieza, so Cooler ends up having a full-powered, huge death ball just ready to fire at Goku. Because, he gathered up all that energy so fast. So then Cooler finally launches the big damn thing, and this is even a challenge for Goku right now, even with Super Saiyan. So Goku's struggling to hold this thing back, and then Goku just musters up all the power that he has within him, and he fires a Kamehameha into it and launches it right back at Cooler. And Cooler tries to hold it back, but it's too much, so he ends up getting launched all the way into the sun. And then when he's getting launched into the sun, he realizes, wait a minute, this is the Saiyan that got away. This is the Saiyan that I sat there and let go to Earth, grow up, kill my brother, and now he's killing me. Damn. So yeah, huge ironic twist for Cooler. So basically, once that happens, Cooler ends up getting blown up into the sun, and, he's dead. Or is he? Anyway, everything's over, and when it's over, peace is restored, yada, yada. and everybody's back to normal. And Gohan's like, where's Piccolo? I need to thank him for saving me. And Gohan notices some like ruffling in the rocks, and he's like, hey, that must be Piccolo. And Gohan goes in to say thank you to him, but turns out it's Salza. Yeah, Salza's still alive after all of that bullshit that happened to him. So, when they all get scared that Salza's still alive, Piccolo ends up shooting a special beam cannon and killing him. And then they're like, okay. But he doesn't show up on screen. But Gohan knows. And it's like, thanks, Mr. Piccolo. And then basically the movie ends. Now, to get into my thoughts, I love this movie. I'm going to say this is my third favorite Dragon Ball Z movie, only being beaten by two others that I will review later on. But this movie's so good in the sense that the villain makes the movie. Remember, if those of y'all who watched my Tree of Might movie review, my Tree of Might movie review, I stated that while this is a good movie because of all the Z Warriors coming together to fight, it falls apart because the villains in this movie are very one-dimensional. They're there to just be there. And that's the thing with a lot of the villains. I mean, hell, like, even in Dead Zone, Garlic Jr. seems a little two-dimensional, but at least he has some, like, history with Kami, so it makes more sense. And his father tried to become Guardian of Earth, and all of that. And then Dr. Willow and Dr. Cochin had history with Bulma revealing how they were in their days of youth and what type of science they did. But the third movie fell apart, and then Lord Slug's movie kind of picked up back up on it by stating that Lord Slug was a part of the Dragon Clan, the Namekians, just like Piccolo. And excuse that noise, there's people outside. There's like, sweet mates outside, because, yeah, I'm in a dorm. Regardless. So, yeah, there's no, like, clarity on these villains. Well, they finally made clarity on these villains. Or at least they didn't do it so well in the Tree of Might. But in the other movies they did. But I will say that this movie did the best job of showing off how well a villain can be crafted. This movie showed exactly how well a villain can work if you put the time and effort into making a villain. Because is Cooler more or less just a non-canon villain that's in the series because some people view the movies as non-canon, which in some senses they are, but in reality, I view Cooler as a very in-depth villain. His personality is it's a lot like Frieza's, only to a really crueler level. Like, it shows that he's Frieza's brother. Like, the scene where he freaking throws Piccolo and shoots him with the death beams. Like, that was fucked up. Or the scene where he's just like, he's got this class to him that Frieza has, only he's more controlled. You can tell that Cooler's more level-headed than Frieza. And to make him Frieza's brother was definitely a better touch, because it shows how Cooler is viewed by this family. Because he states that in the movie, when Goku and Cooler are fighting, Cooler states that I would have killed Frieza myself if you didn't do it, but the only reason that I'm mad at you is because you're a filthy Saiyan. Like, I don't want a dirty monkey killing my brother because it tarnishes our family name. That's what Cooler basically saw in this. So he holds a level of honor that exceeds his hate for his own brother. So it's a really good way to look into Cooler's brain. And even when he's like frustrated or reaching a disadvantage in a fight, like when Goku turned Super Saiyan and Cooler couldn't really beat him, he still shows that he's level-headed. Like, he shows a little bit more arrogance, but he still shows that he's more controlled than Frieza. He's not as angry as Frieza would get. Cooler still holds up hey, I don't give a shit if you're stronger than me. Everybody on this planet's still going to die because I said they're going to die. Human beings and creatures are just playthings to me. He literally says that in the movie. So he holds this, like, king's grip that I really respect. So, yeah, Cooler just has, like, so much strength and pride into himself that you can definitely tell he's the more mature of the two brothers. He's the more level-headed. He's the more controlling. So it's kind of a shame that he's not really in the main timeline of Dragon Ball Z. But it is cool to see that he exists. Like it took Frieza is a very in-depth villain, and he's even been ranked as one of the highest anime villains in history. But to see him have a brother that holds his own is very well to watch. It's very good to watch. It definitely makes you want to watch this movie several times to, get a good view of how Cooler is. With that said, I also like how, we can, because having Frieza have a brother sounds like a really big fan thing to do. Like, how fan writers will say, well, this villain had a long lost brother. And yeah, it seemed like a very fanboy-like thing to do. Yet the way they work Cooler out, he still has his own character. He's not just a big Frieza ripoff. Cooler is his own character, while still maintaining some of Frieza's trait. This makes them seem more like brothers because they come off of each other's personalities, but use them in different directions. And that's what I really love about this movie, of how it can make a villain that's so in-depth while still having them be related to another villain in the same plot, in the same series. Also, I like the music. I know, rock music in Dragon Ball Z is too out of place. I like the music in this movie. I'm sorry. I think there's a song called Falling Down. That's a good song. And there's also Change, and that's a good song too. Really good music in this movie. I love Change. That's a really good song. You should give it a listen to. Also, what else do I like about this movie? There is a couple of downsides about this movie I don't like. Like, for example, how Gohan and Krillin weren't really useful in this movie at all. I mean, yeah, Gohan got the Senzu beans, which was cool, but fight-wise, he was terrible. Like, you mean to tell me he couldn't stand any chance against Cooler's Armored Squadron, nor can Krillin? It was just pathetic to watch. Piccolo did some good work in this movie, I guess, but unfortunately Goku and Piccolo were the only ones who really did work fighting wise. But having Gohan bring the Senzu bean and having that one Senzu bean in his gi was a cool little if all hope is lost, we still have one last bean of hope. I guess if I were to nitpick on anything, I say, that was basically it. Gohan and Krillin could have been more useful fight-wise. But other than that, now you would notice that Goku turned Super Saiyan and beat Cooler literally effortlessly. Like, the only reason that Cooler was showing a little bit of a struggle for Goku was because of that Supernova attack, but regardless, Goku beat Cooler within seconds. You would probably ask yourself, well, Tyrone, if this takes place in a timeline in which Goku turns Super Saiyan in this timeline and he beats him effortlessly, then how is the final form of Cooler stronger than Frieza's 100% form? Here's the thing. It's not. Because Goku was actually at a disadvantage against Frieza when Frieza was at 100% final form. He was actually losing that fight, and then Frieza started weakening as the fight went on. Cooler was losing the fight the minute Goku turned Super Saiyan. Meaning that Cooler's new form, while not as strong as Frieza's 100% form, does have a longer lasting energy rate. And he apparently can gather energy faster because of, how fast he gathered the energy for Supernova. So, with that said, there's my interpretation of how strong Cooler is compared to Frieza. Like, in a fight between the two, if one were to have 100% power and one were to be at final form, Cooler would last long enough to beat Frieza because Frieza's energy would whittle down. But if it were like a quick just fight, Frieza would probably win because 100% perfect is stronger than this. But if the fight were to drag out, then Cooler would win. So yeah, that's my synopsis on that. But with that said, why I gave the big or is he? Because the next movie I will be reviewing is Cooler's Return. Yeah, looking forward to that one. See you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3 out.